So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this lifestyle radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
Legacy 420 has medicinal and recreational products down to a science, literally. With 2 biochemists on staff and a chief scientific advisor, every product is tested in the Legacy 420 laboratory. Legacy 420, Tyendinaga. Open 9 to 9 every day. Visit legacy420.com.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this lifestyle radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Cannabis and Coffee with me, Tamarijuana. It's a beautiful day in the East Kootenays, a little bit, overcast, but, that seems to be the norm these days. This morning, I'm going to get right to it because there's a lot to talk about. I have Cheryl, Rose, and Hayleys with us this morning as well, and we're going to go back over the last pretty much 10 years of Hayley's story, and that's, I think, that something we really want to get out there. That Hayley was the first licensed child patient in Canada. She was first licensed in 2008. There was difficulties along the way to keep getting her continual renewals. Wait times with Health Canada were up to 10 to 12 weeks back in those days, and, well, they still are. And when you were growing your own medicine, that was a whole big catalyst when you were growing your own medicine. So we met in Ottawa in 2012, I believe it was, or 2011, and that's when I got to really know Cheryl and Hayley, and I've been watching and hand in hand along the way since 2011. So good morning, both of you. Good morning, Hayley. Good morning, Cheryl.
Good morning. She's like, I did.
I know. So this morning we're going to try and talk to Hayley more than Cheryl so that she can tell you in her own words how cannabis has helped save her life.
Okay, so Hayley, we should probably start with how Hayley's doing right now. So do you want to tell them how?
Yeah.
Okay, does she face me sit right now?
Yeah, you can go.
It says I might tell how the diet helps seizures, but trouble understanding people say I can tell you what I think and feel still.
So can you explain that a little bit better than this? The diet is helping slow down the long seizures and the big grand mal seizures, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But can you explain what it is, the trouble that you're having now with the thinking? Remember when you were trying to explain it to me the other day?
I have trouble and
try to speak clear.
I have trouble communicating with other people.
Like,
for example, if I don't understand something, you have to maybe make it easier and easier in a way as you can, but keep on trying the same one as you're going.
Yeah, like using different words to help you understand what's happening around you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I don't understand it, then
you don't know.
I don't know what it is or what's happening.
Yeah, but you're able to tell us this. So this is really good because you're able to tell us what you think and what you feel about stuff, right? It's been a really long journey for you, hey? Very long journey. Hayley started having seizures. In retrospect, she started having them after the MMR shot, absence and partials, and they were misdiagnosed. By the time she was 8, we'd gone to California. We were attempting.
And it was broke the window open in an airplane.
That was on the way to Ottawa. We'll get to that. So what else is it?
So she started having seizures like fairly young. Like she was how old?
Yeah. They were misdiagnosed. They were absence and partials, and they were misdiagnosed. And then when she was around 6, 7, she started having more.
There's one more seizure I had
What?
When I was a teenager.
Which ones?
I had one that I just see
The hallucinations.
I've seen smoking beer and diamonds coming over.
Yeah.
And it was and I was in the car, but it wasn't actually that. It was
medication. It was the medication. It was she's had like horrible.
But now it's gone.
Yeah, because we don't use that medication anymore. So
actually, let's try it again.
Let's try and keep it in kind of a bit of order for these guys here. Okay, so you got.
It's all good. We're wanting to know more about Hayley, so the way this is fine, Cheryl. It's all good. But like I said, for the listeners to understand that, like how many years you've been dealing with this. She's 22 now, isn't she?
No, she's 25. She's 26 in April.
She's the same age as Rihanna, same age as my girls. Right, exactly. So when I think she was only 22, I was thinking she was Tyrus's age, but she's Talia's age. So from 6 to 25.
Yeah, 6 to 25 that we knew, and even 6 to 8, they weren't even sure if it was actually epilepsy. They were unsure still, and they were trying different meds. It didn't work. We actually were trying to be medical refugees back when she was 8 years old by going to the States to try to find a doctor who would look at cannabis, because at that time nobody was looking, like they thought I was insane.
No, because
absolutely thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
So we went to California, could not find anyone out there. We had to come back. So until Hayley was 15, from when she was 8 to 15, we sat going through umpteen medications. During the time frame from when she was 8 to 15, she must have gone through 19 to 21 different medications during that time that we could not find safe access to a doctor or to cannabis medicine for her. So, and I'm sorry, but that's a crime. That's a crime to withhold that medication and possibility.
Let's go back to when do you first discover that you thought maybe cannabis would be a solution for her? Because between 6 and 8, when was your first introduction to that?
Well, between 6 and 8, when they were unsure, I started researching, and I was researching everything, natural stuff, because they were unsure what it was. So I thought, okay, I'll look up all different things. They were looking at ADHD and a bunch of different stuff. Nobody really knew and couldn't concrete give us any info until she was 8, and we were in California, and she had 40 seizures in 24 hours. So I had been looking at it. I wasn't getting any help. When she was 8, when we got back from California, I was totally devastated because there was no other options. And then we started this whole long, 7 additional years of trying to find something for her that would work, and none of the medications would hold. She'd get allergic to them. And when she was 15, in January 6th, 2008, I was told, we were told that, she wouldn't make it till not to expect school for September, and not to expect her to be here for Christmas. It was not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then in May of 2008, I took matters into my own hands because my child was fading so fast. I was losing her ridiculously. Hayley doesn't remember a lot of that time. She remembers when she was 11, 12 years old and hallucinated, as she was saying, with the smoking beaver. From different benzodiazepines. Yeah, it was her birthday actually, and we ended up in the ER. So from benzos, yeah.
Yeah, and they're giving an 11-year-old benzos, and they're going to try and keep them restricted from cannabis.
I know.
That just seems arbitrary to me. It just seems like absolutely ridiculous. We're going to give you guys all kinds of different pharmaceuticals, 19 over the last how many years, and have that detrimental damage. And how did the pharmaceuticals damage her body?
Well, that was only from like 8 to 15, 19 to 21 medications. Right? She has had some more since then. But you got to remember, Hayley is now in the process of, because of the reduction in seizure activity from the ketogenic diet, she's in the process of, for the 3rd time, beating palliative measures. However, she is very frail, and we are working on trying to get that kind of, the energy up, and all that kind of stuff. The seizure reduction is great, but it is really tough on your body.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So, and the first time she beat Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, she was 15. She had just turned 15, and then within months of that, she beat life-threatening catamenial seizures, and now she's beating a combo of both of them.
Yes.
So, with the keto diet.
Right. So it's a combination. It's not just all cannabis to make these things happen for her. It's a combination of diet and cannabis and some pharmaceuticals still too as well, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, when she was 15 and we started the cannabis, the EEG showed marked improvements, and they wanted to take her off all the stuff because they no longer believed she had an epileptic encephalopathy. So they no longer believed that as long as she took cannabis, she would be suffering. However, because she was in puberty, that's when we found out about catamenial seizures and estrogen being a proconvulsant and progesterone being an anticonvulsant. And it was when we found that out, and in hospital, we found out that catamenial seizures will actually send her into non-convulsive status, where we can only use rectal paraldehyde maybe 1 or 2 more times, if it even works. And that takes a team of 4 nurses, and they have 5 minutes to get it into the person rectally, rectal paraldehyde, before it starts breaking down in the syringe.
Right.
Because it's such a hard core medication.
Right.
And so at that point, we used progesterone to knock down the catamenial seizures so that they didn't kill her, but she still would, get them. But at least she wouldn't go into status, and she'd always come out. And then this last time, over the last couple of years, because one of the medications had been reduced or taken off that she really probably should not have been taken off at the time, she has had, we've seen more absence and partials. And in June, they said she was at palliative measures and that 2/3 of her seizures are not detectable to the human eye. So we require an EEG to even see that she's having them.
Oh my.
And the day that she actually left the hospital that day, They did an MRI, and she went into an hour-long partial seizure that presented in multiple ways during that hour. And they were sending us home anyways because there was really nothing more they can do, right? So we gave her an emergency drug, got her out, got her cannabis emergency, PRN in her too, and, got her home and stuff. But, yeah, so we started the ketogenic diet, and we have seen a reduction, but it's very difficult on your body.
Yeah.
Especially as an adult. So, and with years and years of pharmaceuticals beating down our poor bodies, so.
Well, that's what I mean, like the damage that's been done to her livers and kidney and everything else already. Like, even just the seizures with a neurological, like we were talking. Yeah, like we were talking about the other day too, just like on the side, because what it's done for her neurological and why she's having issues with intake now, and still can the output's good, but the intake she's having troubles understanding, and that's due to having multiple seizures on a daily basis.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And it doesn't matter. And I mean, it's so hard to watch from the side. I can't even imagine being the parent. Like, Cheryl, you are an exemplary, an amazing woman. Like, you are the strongest person I know. You know what I mean? I don't even know how to say it. But
I have to, right? It's
my
baby, so.
That's right. And the research that you've done over the last, 10, 12 years because of her, which has benefited so many other children and patients across this country. And that's the real main reason why, one of the main reasons I've had you on my show a number of times, because, we go back a long way. We've grown together. You've taught me so much. But the Hayley story, and that's another thing I really wanted to have you back on the show, is that Hayley really is the pioneer to children being able to use cannabis in our country and in the United States. Hayley was the first child that was out there publicly saying, I need this. And I think she's been overlooked. I think she's been stepped over top of. I think you both have been. And I think it's time, like you said, to get her story out. Because there are so many things and people in our community that are being walked over, stepped over, given more notoriety than others. And if it wasn't for you two, how many other families wouldn't even have the ability to be giving their children the cannabis oil that they are today? So kudos to you for being the strongest person, like I said, that I know. Like, you stood up, you stood out, and you stood up. But that's a hard pill. That's hard to do as a mother. You risk your family. You risk going to jail. You risk all these things that people don't understand. Like, you're fighting for the person that you love. And for how many years was it illegal? Even now, it's illegal. It's hard to get a doctor to sign a signature for a child now still.
It is, and when you look at the fact that if I had been able to give Hayley cannabis when we were looking, when she was 8, she wouldn't have gone through all those pharmaceuticals because of the fact that we did see it knock out LGS, but it was the secondary seizure condition that because of the secondary seizure condition that we've had such issues. Because as long as the gateway of seizures is open, you're going to be more susceptible to seizures. So we could have very likely prevented delayed many of the medications, which meant we would have gotten better health at this point. The probability of better health at this point, it's pretty much irrefutable because of the amounts of gains. I mean, we see it with kids all over the place right now. I mean, the growth and the knowledge that's out there, but there are still medical refugees. Look at little Billy Caldwell. He's here in Canada from the UK. That is not acceptable. Hang on, Hayley kind of just dozed off on us. We're going to get out of here in a second.
That's a little
drained. It's draining.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, I met Hayley. She was, and I see pictures of her now, and it's almost, it's a bit heartbreaking, Cheryl. You know what I mean? Like, just to see the deterioration over the and that's why I want to, like, really get people to be aware of you guys' situation and really make sure that the community's backing and supporting you, because this girl's fighting for her life, people. She's fighting for her life. Like,
third time,
right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing,
and you know what's crazy is every time that she's kicked LGS and catamenial seizures. It's been from something that the doctors told me, good luck, we don't want to try it. And I had to go and find somebody willing to try it every bloody time.
Right? And that's the thing.
Yeah,
It's just
like,
pushed
it's
and pushed
crazy.
and pushed. And I mean, like I said, and the knowledge that you've brought forward for other patients, for children, for other families. Like I said, when everybody, wants to start disputing the CBD issue, I said, just hang on a sec. I'll get a hold of Cheryl. It's just like there's just no disputing when it comes to the breakdown of that plant and exactly what is needed for certain things with CBNs and the transformation of the enzymes.
I feel like I have so much more research to do. I have so much more learning and stuff, and I'm just like, there's so much I want to study between the different strains and stuff, and how it helps kids, not just the ones that are in the studies, but especially the ones that fall out of the studies, because that's where we're really going to find that kind of information. So that's really,
right.
And it's near and dear to me because strain specificity, that's Hayley,
Right. And let's be specific. Hayleys Comet was one of the very first high CBD strains out there, wasn't it?
Yes. It was bred and grown. First crop was 2008. It just happened to be the same year that Hayley started, and they found they were just kind of meant to be, I guess.
Yeah.
And found each other, and that was back in 2008. And I remember talking about it and talking with many parents, and now everybody knows all about them, and they're doing great in their kids, and they're really helping out a lot of other families and educating. And it's just been amazing getting to watch all of them develop and grow, and it's amazing, right? Because everybody's got something to bring to the table when it comes to that knowledge, and it's so important.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy to see the growth. But when Hayley and I were talking about this yesterday, and she can tell you in her own words here, I'll get her a little more conscious here. she's exhausted. She's exhausted. Yeah. She is very drained. But when we were talking yesterday, and how Hayley wants her medicine to go all over the world, her strain, she was like, and I was talking about, how some places in the world kids can't, and how like even Billy had to come over here, and there's kids all over the States that are medical refugees and such. And she goes, I was talking about people, and she looks at me and she goes, what about the little ones, Mom? What about the little ones? Are they getting medicine everywhere yet? And I can't tell her yes. And that has always been Hayley's message. No one gets left behind.
Yeah.
Right? And as her mom, she's just struggling right now, and we're hoping that we can get her overall health up, because the seizures are down. So, we got a lot of hope going on here, but we're very real in the fact this is the third go-around, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
and I mean, and that's been, be clear too. Like, I mean, the CBDs and CBNs and THC work for some things, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to put the message out there that every child is, going to get better because of cannabis. That can be in combination with, other therapeutic medications, but we don't want to put cure-all. It's not a cure-all, people. That's just what I want to say.
No, and people, I still run into people who think that they're just going to grab any CBD and it's just going to be the miracle, and then they get mad when it's not. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. I'm sorry, it doesn't.
There's a lot of snake oil out there, and I want to make that clear too. There's a lot of snake oil out there. There's a lot of people pushing a lot of hemp CBD out there that might not necessarily be medicine. It's medicine, but it's not the same type and not the same percentage, and you have to take like 3 times the amount of a hemp CBD over a sativa CBD or a cannabis CBD.
Yeah, and also the concentrations that they're made in is ridiculous too, right? So the concentration of medications. And what about everybody else who doesn't need just hemp? Like what I was telling Hayley, how some places they can get hemp, but they can get the super high CBD, but they can't get strains like hers or other higher THC strains. And she's just like, I don't understand. And you know what? I don't either.
I don't either.
She's absolutely right.
right? And that's the thing. And even with the caps that our government regulations are putting on some of the stuff that is coming out medicinally isn't high enough for some people.
No, it's
and
not.
the percentage, like, the 1-to-1 and the 1-to-5, and they're not even breaking it down to even that. It's a 1-to-1, straight up.
Yeah, I know. And Hayley takes 1.2 to 1 ratio. That's her Hayleys Comet grown ideally. And then a 1.4 to 1 ratio, which is a 19 milligram difference in her particular dosing. It's approximately a 19 milligram difference increase of CBD during high seizure time 3 times a day. So when they go 1.1 and it's a 1.3, I'm looking, or a 1.4 and I need 1.2, that's not okay to me.
Right.
And
I'm seeing you and I have discussed this, that I don't find any relief from CBDs at all. So I'm wondering, maybe oddities out there,
There's a lot of people that don't. There's a
right?
lot of people that don't either.
I thought it was an oddity. I thought, okay, well, am I the only one that doesn't get any effect off CBDs? Am I the odd duck? Because so many people are screaming, oh, it helps me, and oh, I feel so much better, and I'm doing all these CBDs, and that's all you hear. You're not hearing, oh man, I started smoking, or I started ingesting cannabis, and I feel so much better. It's, I'm doing CBDs, and I'm so much better.
Yeah, and what else is in there? What terpenes? Are there terpenes in your CBD? Are there, what's your profile? What's the whole profile? What's your ratio? Are you 25 to 1? Are you 10 to 1? Are you 15 to 1? Like, where's your terpene profile? Are you, what if you need a 10 to 1 THC to CBD? You don't even know, right?
Right. And no research is done, and no doctors are going to sit there and tell you any of this because they don't know.
They're not even going to
like, even if you're going to go to the Shoppers. Okay, but here's the thing. We're going to go now into Shoppers Drug Mart, okay, to get medicine. Right? And is that pharmacist behind that counter going to know what a 1 to 10 CBD THC tincture? Oh, I guess we can't, because they're not going to allow us to have those percentages. But you know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't be able to break that down or understand, because they've never been educated in any of that. And the endocannabinoid system is within us, right? We naturally make it ourselves. And they've skipped over that whole portion of our fucking anatomy. Oops, I guess it doesn't exist because something that goes in there is illegal. We can't, bring forth that positive, health benefit because it's illegal, because some asshat decided to, I don't know, grow hemp over cotton, or cotton over hemp, or whatever the fuck the deal was. Because, it's so irrelevant now. But in hindsight, we've got so many half-assed fucking bullshit, comprehensive propaganda, I guess is a way to put it, going on out there, because you got so many what are they, multi-level marketing companies that are trying to sell fucking hemp oil to say it's going to be better for you, and it's all about the CBD. I'm sorry, I'm still really pissed off about that, because it's just not, how do you even say, it's not even the real reality of it all. That plant is not just CBD. It
drives me crazy, especially when it comes to the kids, because people are forgetting that many children get great benefits from THC or THCA, and not just CBD, and also CBDA. There's many combinations, and it's all individual to each of us. There are things that predominantly may or may are it's like saying, okay, well, this medication works for most people for this. It's not for everybody. So people try it. Oh, okay, well, that one didn't work as well for me, so you try something else. Cannabis is the same. You go with the high probability, and then you go until you find what you individually need, right? Like, that's how I kind of look at it, right? And then I would look at, if you got relief from one strain, I'd look at its full profile. And then when you're looking for another strain, I would look at its full profile and look for how many markers are similar and how many aren't. And then by going through, I know this is a lot, right? By going through multiple reports, you will be able to deduce and figure out your own perfect strains. Yeah. It takes time. And you need to be able to get that information. But when we're receiving, when you go out and you buy something that has an 11% difference on a per gram, that's a problem to me. Right. So, what is that? What am I going to do with that? I don't like that. That's a real issue.
Here's another issue I've got with this new regime of cannabis is there's no expiry dates on any of the cannabis. And I'm a grower. I've grown for years, right? No, there's a non-determined. It's written right on the side of the bottle. Non-determined expiry date. As a grower, I know that cannabis has a shelf life. You know when it's popcorn fart dry and you can't roll it into a joint and you puff it off in 2 puffs, or you're having a bowl and it's burning the back of your throat. It might not be good, right? And we're not talking about mold eradication. We're talking about shelf life.
Just
deterioration.
With Hayleys meds, especially with bud or whatever, right? I automatically, if I've got a batch, I test every 6 months to a year, because at a year it's a totally different. Like your profile is completely changed.
Because why? Because
deterioration, time.
Right, and THC over time will turn itself into CBNs.
Yes, and the overall, there's your CBD will drop too, because I had stuff that was tested at it was an oil actually that was made that was 200 milligrams per, and when I tested it, it was almost a year old, and it came out to under that in CBD. And also I tested Hayleys Hope for a patient that was receiving it, but their test came out at 1, but because I think the batch was a bit older, right? It was the date on the batch, right? It was just natural deterioration that had happened with it. It wasn't a huge difference, but you have to watch your batches and check on that. And I mean, I love it. Like, I've heard nothing but great things with Hayleys Hope, so I'm in no way knocking down anybody's products. I'm just saying that over time, no matter what your product is, you do have to continue, right? And patients don't necessarily realize that. They might buy in bulk and have it sitting there and not realize that they do need to double check it.
Well, here's the thing too with the carrier oil. You know, depending on your carrier, whether you're using grapeseed or coconut oil, if you're not refrigerating, I'm sorry, your oil is going to go rancid and also cause your medication to break down. You have to be really careful with your carrier. I've gotten some stuff, I'm not going to say from where, that I had sitting for less than 3 months, and it was molding. You know what I mean? Because of the carrier of the coconut, and it was coconut oil based carrier, right? It was a cap, but they'd used a solid coconut oil to do the infusion. So when they capped it, of course, with putting it in the fridge, it hardened the coconut oil up. But even with it in the fridge, it was still molding. So
so it's probably an old batch that they had for a while.
Right.
That was then turned into whatever.
Right. So again, coming from a private company that, no longer exists, I don't think. I'm not even sure. But again, you've got all these people out there that are snake oil. I'm not saying it, that it's everybody. But people are trying stuff at home without testing. Cheryl, you do testing, but there's some people that do without testing. And you have to be careful. Because, like I said, even if it's a multi-level marketing company coming out of the States or wherever, you may do your research. Make sure these companies...
Even if it's coming from the LPs here, which scares the hell out of me.
Right. I said, be sure.
Yeah.
I don't like to promote like I said, the LP, we all know that they're doing their testing because the government has put such rigorous, regulations out them.
My problem with it is, how come there's still recalls? That irritates the daylights out of me.
Because it's a plant, Cheryl. It's a plant. I mean, the thing of it is, it's a plant. I mean, nobody's going to be able to do it 100% perfect 100% of the time. There's going to be recalls, and that's something that they didn't put into consideration when it came to supply. I mean, there's been fucking recalls on goddamn lettuce. There's going to be recalls on cannabis.
I know.
So when you're dealing with agriculture, which it's agriculture.
You're going to end up with them.
You're going to end up with mold, and you're going to end up with bugs, and you're going to end up with loss. But again, this is something that they all should have put into consideration when they were putting out the supply and demand chain. And they didn't do that right. And in my opinion, they should have had the demand, and the suppliers locked down, doubled down. They had no idea that the influx that we were going to have. Now there's shortage. Well, pull your head from your asses. Everybody in Canada, but to all you guys that are still in the fucking closet, we know you smoke weed. You know what I mean? Go back. You're all in your closets. We know that, but we still know that you're smoking weed because we see you sneaking to the stores. Come on. The demand is there, and I don't care who the fuck you are. Everybody's been a bit curious, and everybody's checked it out.
Exactly. Now that it's legal, everybody's like, oh, okay, well, let's check it out. Even if you didn't, you're curious.
Right? I mean, everybody's got a bit of that curious cat in them. So, like I said, it was proven with the first days of opening at every location, except for the ones here. They didn't really have lineups because they've been open right from the get-go. But, the lineups being seen in places like Calgary, Alberta, where they've never had anything quite like this happen before. It's like, woohoo! Even Vancouver, that one store, they had a lineup that was open, 2 weeks ago, Saturday, the first legal store in Vancouver. And I kind of thought that was kind of silly because I'm thinking, like, you guys have never seen a fucking pot store before? It's like there's one on every corner in Vancouver. Why all of a sudden is a lineup for this one? But I guess, that whole stamp of legalization brings people forward that wouldn't normally have gone, maybe.
Exactly.
How does Hayley feel about legalization? What's her thoughts on this whole regime of legalization? Has she put her opinion out there?
Well, as I said, when asked if her big question is, are the little ones able to get it? And there's still issues here in Canada, so yeah. She's just
right.
She hang on, hey, do you wanna tell them that? You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're just having a little nappy in between. Say
Yeah.
hey, Tamara.
Hey.
Hi, honey. So we're talking about legalization and what your thoughts are about what's going on with cannabis and legal.
And about, you were saying to me yesterday how you were concerned about the little ones, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to read them what we wrote down there?
It says kids who get medicine around the world not have to run to different country for medicine of any the ones I want to see people be able to get my plant all over the world.
Did you get that?
I did, and that's awesome. And we want to help you get your plant.
Yes, and her concern is that for kids to get medicine around the world and not have to run to a different country for medicine of any kind. Right? And even here with our legalization, there are still restrictions and difficulties for children getting medication.
Well, the doctors aren't signing the kids. Like, they put a restriction.
They're not.
And we're going to,
only this high CBD, but and then the parents are like, well, it's not working. Oh, well, then I guess it doesn't work. No. They're not.
Right.
They're looking at it as if this
is a gateway to stop,
right?
Like, this is one chance you've got. I will give you one shot at it. You can try that one CBD, and if it doesn't work, then we're going to classify all CBDs as not working and write this medication off. And I think
which is absolute crap, because we've seen that proven with the strains in the States between, you look at Charlotte's Web and Hayleys Hope are two ideal ones to show in comparison. Children who are getting help with Charlotte's Web may not get the same results with Hayleys Hope and vice versa, and that all comes down to ratios, and Hayleys Hope has a couple of them. There's also Palmetto Harmony, which is an incredible product as well, and you can never forget about Jaydens Juice that has multiple types. I believe they have a THCA and stuff too, so they're just hitting multiple needs of children, which is just absolutely fabulous. But the thing is that doctors are not noting this stuff, and it's like, whoa, we see it here in Canada, but nobody's talking about it. At least they're talking about it in the States. They're not doing it here, and that's just a shame, because we could be doing so much better, truly.
On that note, we're gonna take a quick break and come back, and we'll talk more about the dropping of the ball of our medical, and that's a thing. There are children still not getting access. Okay, I'd like to thank my sponsors, who are Mom Maritime United for Medical Marijuana, the Hayley Rose Foundation, and Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners. And if you'd like to sponsor my show, please get a hold of me, because we're looking for new sponsors. Our song's going to be Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, You Get Me High. We'll be right back.
Legacy 420 has medicinal and recreational products down to a science. Literally. With 2 biochemists on staff and a chief scientific advisor, every product is tested in the Legacy 420 laboratory. Legacy 420, Tyndanaga. Open 9 to 9 every day. Visit legacy420.com.
Hey, this is Cheech.
And this is Chong.
And you're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
What is it?
Lifestyle Radio. Say it one more time.
420 radio?
Ooh.
Hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
And my fingertips, imagination running wild. You get me high. You get me high. You give me something so deep. Get me high. I remember feeling this way. You can lose it without knowing. You wake up and you don't know which way the wind is blowing. So deep, you get me
we're back with Cheryl and Hayley, and we were talking a bit over the break about, I don't know, global warming, but we won't even talk about that now. But back to the whole, like, you know, the fact that things are really changing for her, and you know how things have progressively changed for you guys over the last few years, and you know that doctors still aren't signing for our kids, and the fact that we're lacking in the whole process of having doctors, even though we've got legal cannabis in Canada, still not signing for kids.
Which is ridiculous. We put protocols in the school systems and in hospitals. How is this even possible that Canada is still so far behind? I don't understand. Even, you know, 9-10 years ago when we put in the cannabis, and about a year or so later when we put in the vaporizer into the public classroom.
Right.
These,
and now we don't, but now with legalization, medical's not even looked at.
And that's a big problem. Like, you can't just go, oh, well, now that we have rec available, and a lot of doctors I've been hearing are like, well, it's legal now, just go get it. That's not helpful.
That's exactly what they're saying.
And it's not helpful at all.
No, and you go into a store and there's no medical advice at all. So what happened to the people that started this whole ball rolling? They were left behind, right? And that's the most ridiculous thing I think that I can even imagine, is the fact that how hard. I mean, this goes back to like the early 90s. We're not talking about, you know, or 90s, you know, 95. We're not talking about, you know, the last 10 years. We're talking about the last 20.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And people have died for this plant. I'm going to just put that right out there. And fought, battling cancers and all kinds of other debilitating diseases to try and get this, you know, plant scheduled off the CDSA. That was the main objective to this, and get it so that we could get medical research and get it. And all he did was take the ball and go, well, you know, there's another market out there that'll make us more money. Let's just take it right away from the patients and just go, okay, yippee yahoo, let's make it legal. And we were there fighting, but we weren't fighting for that. That's all I'm going to say. So, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. So, in the face of legalization and what's going on with the medical and stuff, and with Hayleys Health, especially with Hayleys Health, we are looking at a few. We've always been very vocal, and Hayley, as you know, wants to see her strain around the world. In the face of all this stuff that's going around globally, the legalization in different countries, now obviously there's so much work to do. And as all these things change and we look forward, you know, Hayley's like, Mom, you know, we really got to make sure that these little ones aren't left behind. And I think that is going to, looking into the different laws, regulations, and working into that sort of area, not just being vocal on social media and in community and stuff, but actually starting to get involved in things of making a difference on those levels where we're talking about around the world and getting her story out there around the world and her strain. Now, Hayley's always wanted to be able to see people be able to use her medicine or other medications around the world, and that is our focus. And with her health, that is going to be our focus. So we are looking at options of how that can happen now, because I'm not waiting another 5-10 years to be able to let my daughter see her dreams and her hopes, the world, and for the children and stuff. So
absolutely.
We're not waiting anymore. We're going to. I don't agree with all the things and rules and regulations that are in play. And our hope is to be able to help make some change from the inside.
Right. And that's exactly where we need to focus, I think, for many, different avenues. Like, like I said, the children, number one and first and foremost, because they're screaming about save the children. This is saving the children. Right? There's nothing, this is, take their analogy and make it so that we are saving the children. So when cannabis is save the children, we're going to make that analogy as, yes, we are going to come at you and save the children. Because you're leaving them behind too, right?
Exactly. And that's what I've been screaming for years is, yeah, exactly. What about the children? What about their lives? What about their hopes? One more option. What about that? What about them? And these bogus rules and regulations surrounding THC, CBD, and all that, they just got to go. They got to go. And Hayley wants her story out, and she wants her strain out across the world, and she wants her voice to be heard because it's not okay. And we will be doing, when Hayley's feeling well, we will do video clips of her talking when she's got the energy to talk about how she feels. And we will start compiling all that because it's time. It's time. I'm not waiting anymore.
And we need to get, like I said, I don't know how we're going to make the awareness.
Her dream happening. Right? I'm not waiting. She needs to see it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I think the end goal there for you guys both is to, make the awareness. And like I said, doing shows like mine and Al's and, getting mainstream. Like I said to you the other day, we need to find you some decent PR and get you guys into the mainstream. Epileptic associations and on the TV, on the news. And this is how we're going to get you the notoriety that Hayley deserves with that plant. And that's exactly what it is. It's the plant that's kept her alive that needs the notoriety. It's not even about the people.
Exactly.
It's about the medicine and getting the information and the education out. And that's the awareness, right?
Exactly. I mean, we have since before starting cannabis, when we went on social media, we went looking for other families like us. And then it became morphed into this thing where we've shared our entire life, and many times way too much, But we've shared every experience because Hayley, she wanted to make sure that nobody else goes through what we've been going through. And it's time that really gets known as to what that fight has entailed and how much has lost. Like, it is a crime to prevent children from having medicine or making them be medical refugees across the world or even into other states. It's a crime. It is a crime that Hayley was not able to, in 2 countries, find a doctor or anyone that would even consider cannabis until I had to take measures in my own hands, break the law, and show her doctor that this would help. And as soon as he saw, he signed immediately.
Yeah.
But it is a crime that we had to be put through that my daughter had to go through that. And she doesn't want to see it anymore. And you know what? I'm going to do everything I damn well can to make sure her voice is heard so that someone out there hears this, because she's fought for so long for these rights, for rights for people like her, people who have no, low income, disability. That is what my daughter has been fighting for all along. And access and community.
Access for the people that need it, access for the people that can't afford it, and the community. And that's one thing I think the government's really trying to break us down on that. Like putting restrictions on marketing, putting restrictions on advertising, putting restrictions on venues, putting restrictions on us that you can't smoke here, there, and everywhere. So don't have a party of any kind, because if there's 3 of you smoking a joint in a circle, we're going to come arrest you, no matter, but it's legal, right? I mean, like I said, it's just the overkill on some of it just makes you shake your head, because that's something that, how we met is through the cannabis community.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
How many of us, we gathered together on Parliament Hill from all across the country. Like, it wasn't just people from Ontario. You came in from Vancouver. I was there from Alberta. Debbie Stout-Skiffen came in from Nova Scotia. Caleb Hubble came in from Melfort, Saskatchewan, for heaven's sakes. You know what I mean? Like, we had people from all over Ontario. I mean, it wasn't a large crowd, because in reality, people with disabilities have a hard time getting around too, but we got there. We made it there, and we stood there. We had our, time that we had, but that was then. this is now, and things have changed within our community too, and that's heartbreaking to me. It really is.
It is, and it's everybody just trying to survive, right? Just trying to survive, and I don't know, like, there are so many issues with legalization still, things that need to be changed. It's just such a crazy dance that they have going on with this medical and rec, where they've turned it into a 3-ring circus when it could have been so simple.
Yeah.
It could have been so simple, and I really,
Public health and safety. That was the first catalyst that we had to get through. We had to get through public health and safety. And in reality, that's straight up one of the biggest catalysts that was standing in the way, was the other, 30% of Canada that doesn't and didn't want cannabis legalized. Hence why we've got these ridiculous impaired driving laws now that have,
that doesn't even make sense.
Right? And people are so pissed off, and they're blaming it on cannabis legalization. How about blaming it on the fact that you shouldn't drink and drive, period? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hear about it because I don't do it. But in hindsight, it's disturbing they can come into your home. I don't like that. That's a different sort of Section 7 as it is.
I almost wonder if they're just using cannabis as an excuse to head to more of a police state anyways, right?
I think that it's the police also pushing the fact that they need budgets. And they still need their budgets because now they're not running after, the low-end pot dealer. They still need the money to run after the people that are driving with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's ridiculous. But there's so much of it I think is ridiculous. Like, I just can't even alliterate how much of it that I really believe is fucking ridiculous. Oh my God, I got this barking dog. Gotta go tell him this. Hang on. If you can start talking, Cheryl, I gotta kill a dog.
Sorry, I'm just smoking some MK Ultra for my PTSD right now. Wait, no.
Here I am screaming at a dog, thinking I put myself on mute, and I didn't. I just put myself on speaker. Jesus. Welcome to the Tamarijuana Show. We're live, where everything can screw up at any moment. Oh, God. Anyways, so, like I said, with going forward then, where do you guys see yourself taking this? Are you going to go straight with media? How do you want to approach getting Hayley's story out there?
You know what? I'm thinking on that. There are a few different ways we can do it. I haven't completely made a solid decision on how. What I want to do is I am trying to collect any old videos, footages, especially anything filmed of her throughout her life and stuff. I want to compile, things like that for her story. We will have some exciting news once we get it, because I do think that it should be filmed, because I think that there's probably some really important interviews out there, and once I've got something properly solidified for that, done in a nice professional manner, I have a very important surprise person for an interview that no one's ever heard from. So that I want it to be something that shows Hayley's life and everything about her, and her message is what I want. And I haven't fully figured out how to do it yet. Like I said, I got options. That, and we want to get her strain across the world. Those are our goals, our immediate goals, and that's what we want to see happen.
Excellent. Well, again, that's how we have to start, piggybacking off, everybody. Okay, pass this on, guys. Anybody who knows anybody that might be interested in helping Cheryl get to where the end goal is getting this plant across the world. And I know that there's people listening, and if not, share it on Facebook, share it on your websites, do whatever it has, because we have a community, and our community should be helping each other help Cheryl get Hayley's story out there. So any of you that know Cheryl and Hayley, jump on board because we're going to get this story out there. We're going to make sure that Hayley gets her dream, which is getting that plant out all over the world.
Well, and because she wants to make sure that anybody who needs it can get access to it and doesn't risk jail and stuff. So, I mean, we got a lot of work, right? We want to get our story out there. We want to be able to help make an impact, not just in Canada, but other places as well, because that is what she wants. She doesn't want any little ones going behind her, anyone at all. So
right, because I mean,
we want to make as much of an impact as we can.
Right, because it's possible too. Like there's adults out there that suffer from epilepsy that have no idea how cannabis can help them.
Oh,
so this is
all the time.
Specifically for just children. Like we don't want to pigeonhole this whole movement towards just children. There are adults out there as well that need so anybody in need. Yeah. So like Hayley says, nobody's left behind, right?
Exactly, because people could say, oh, children, well, Hayley's 25 now. Does that mean she doesn't qualify? Hell no, right? It doesn't matter how old you are. Somebody could not have epilepsy and all of a sudden they have epilepsy and they're an adult. Right. Does that make them any less in need? No, it does not.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's it, right? Like it's all on what people need, and let's hope that over this next 5 years is how I keep seeing it, that the doctors start seeing the results of the endocannabinoid system, and how many people, even with recreational cannabis, not going to their doctors, going to the pot store for something rather than, or going to the drugstore for an Advil. When people actually start consuming and using and seeing the difference in their health because they are, whether it's coming from a store or not, it'll be what the demand is. And when people start maybe seeing and realizing that cannabis is helping their health, they'll start looking for other things rather than just getting high. You know what I'm saying? So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why everybody's not just, juicing every day.
Right.
Like,
and I mean, it doesn't
to me,
take
that's
a lot
just preventative measures, right?
Right, exactly. And I mean, it doesn't take much if you're growing your 4 plants,
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not easy either. Like, the worst part about it is, it isn't just throwing a plant in some dirt. You have to be diligent and watch and see and, spend some time with it. It's not quite as easy as growing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
You do have to be diligent, but it is a plant. But if you were growing anything, the more attention you give it, the better you're going to get a quality and yield, no matter what you do, as long as you give it love and attention.
Right. And that's exactly what anything needs, is love and attention. Is Hayley awake a little bit so we're going to wrap up here? Is there anything she'd like to say before we have to
Hayley,
wrap
sweetie, we're going to wrap up on here and say goodbye to everybody. Is there anything that you want to tell people? Is there any message you want them to know out there about medicine or anything?
Yeah, we have to give it to our kids with in capsules.
In capsules or drops or whatever, make sure that they can get it. Make sure the kids can get the medicine, and the adults too, right? Like everybody, right? You wouldn't want them to stop you. Well, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're asking everybody to help us so that we can help other people, right? People like, and I'm going to say it again, Billy Caldwell, who is stuck in Alberta right now, can't get back to the UK. Sweet little boy. His mother's name is Charlotte. They need our help. Well, they need the community's help. They need help to deal with their government that they can't get back and bring him home. And that little boy deserves to be at home. So.
What's the story like? Why won't the case back?
There was issues around the laws. I have to actually check on update on it, but there was issues with it. And when he left, he couldn't get his medicine. He's actually getting, I believe, Aurora's taking care of his medicine right now, or helping them with medicine. They're in Alberta right now, and he's been here like between 70 and 80 days now, trapped here.
Oh, wow.
As a medical refugee. And I guess they changed some things in the UK, but for some reason they're not able to get him back there with the doctor approval. I suggest anybody check out Charlotte Caldwell, Keep Billy Alive, Billy Caldwell, and let's pull together and try and help these guys because they're having issues with getting him with the UK government. So when Hayley says, what about the children and what about everybody around the world, that's what she's talking about.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And same with, this is not okay, and that's where we kind of want to start talking.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you can, get back to where we have to be with this, right? And it's basically, helping everybody and our community stepping up and access. Yeah. And again, here we are. What is it? 12 years later now, fighting for access still. Like it just seems like I've just started again all over again. Like, I don't know. Anyways, on that note, thank you very much for coming on my show.
Bye.
Thanks so much, Hayley, honey. I hope you feel better soon. We want to see your beautiful smiling face and walking all across this country to save everybody. Okay, honey?
Yeah. He's like, okay. No problem. She's on it.
On it. Hey, again, I'd like to thank my sponsors who are Mom Maritimers United for Medical Marijuana, Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners, and the Hayley Rose Foundation. I'm going to wrap the show up with the Killin' Time Band. It makes no sense. Y'all have a great week. We'll talk to you next Wednesday, 10 a.m. live on www.420radio.ca. Have a good week.
Legacy 420 has medicinal and recreational products down to a science, literally. With 2 biochemists on staff and a chief scientific advisor, every product is tested in the Legacy 420 laboratory. Legacy 420, Tyendinaga. Open 9 to 9 every day. Visit legacy420.com.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
It's time for a change, to rethink things our way. Gotta know by now that this ain't working. Gotta rip it on down and start again. You know it doesn't make sense.
Legacy 420 has medicinal and recreational products down to a science. Literally. With 2 biochemists on staff and a chief scientific advisor, every product is tested in the Legacy 420 laboratory. Legacy 420, Tyendinaga. Open 9 to 9 every day. Visit legacy420.com.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this lifestyle radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.